Well, and what's the difference in the sizes? That one is just probably easier to deal with. It's like a sitting one.
It is a technology change.
Okay.
So if we start from the beginning, you've got a drop spindle, which I have indeed dropped on before. Now I got grass in my so this is a drop spindle. This is the original technology. This was in use from basically Neolithic times in the ancient Mongolians, all the way up through basically moving into like the Renaissance. So right around well, maybe a little sooner, 1100 to 1300 AD, depending on which culture you're talking about. India improved it a little sooner than anybody else. So basically, you have a spindle that you're wrapping your fiber around, and you've got a whirl that's creating momentum while you spin it. So that then drops towards the ground. Once you've got, got enough on there, then you wind it up.
And so that's just wool.
Yep.
Just raw wool.
Yep. It has been washed and carded so to make it like fluffy and break up the clumps. Yep, just plain old wool. This actually came from the sheep farm at Clemson.
And then once you have it, then you can knit with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
This is a single ply. You can actually spin two of these and then spin them together to make like a double ply. It's easier to work with. So this was made on a drop spindle. This is llama hair.
Feels like cotton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty soft. It's not as stretchy and bouncy as wool, but it's a little bit softer.
Right.
This is also llama. That was spun on the great wheel.
Mm-hmm.
So, after you got enough,
You know what I want to go?
so they basically improved on this technology when they got to the great wheel, when they figured out I can use a big wheel to turn my little wheel, to turn my spindle. But all fabric today is all natural fibers, I should say. All your cotton threads and stuff are basically made this exact same way, except you have giant machines spinning at thousands of RPMs. Winding.
So how long would, let's say if you worked for an hour, how far would you get versus a machine?
Oh, yeah. They make a truckload.
Yeah, okay.
And I would, I'd say I probably made this much in 2 or 3 hours on a drop spindle. So like, I'll fiddle with it while I'm watching a movie or something because I can't sit still. So we got from there to there, but this is literally this exact same thing. It's just sideways. And we're using a drive band to turn it instead of our fingers. So exact same thing. We're still just using it to spin. Except I can do it a lot more efficiently over here. So I'm controlling the rate of the spin with my right hand in the wheel. I'm controlling how much fiber I'm letting go into there with my left hand. Occasionally I'm picking the fuzzies out that I don't like.
And my daughter prefers open.
Needing quality control. And then I wind it back up. That's why this is called a walking wheel. It's also called a grade wheel. Just like gears in a bicycle, we're using the bigger this wheel, the faster it's going to turn back. So that was our next big technological innovation. So we got a lot more efficiency. I'd probably go, 2 or 3 times faster than the drop spindle this way. But I still have to pause and wind it. Eventually, around 15, 16, 1700, somewhere in there. People didn't keep really good patent records at the time. We developed, this is a Saxony double drive spinning wheel, and it is capable of both spinning and winding in one go.
That looks so much easier.
Yes. It takes a little more coordination. It's a little bit fussier. This one doesn't like thick yarn at all. But I'm able to use a treadle. You kind of have to use your hand to get it started, but then from there, you can drive it with your foot. One of these bands turns my spindle to put the spin into the fiber, and the other band turns this flyer wheel so that it will then actually wind the yarn at the same time. Yep.
Cool craft.
You're welcome. And the same thing, once I've got 2 of these, I can then ply them together and make a double ply yarn.
Right.
But a lot of advantages with this one. You can use both hands for the drafting, so you can more opportunities to make it smoother and more even, because you can keep both hands on it. It's also a whole lot faster.
Mhm.
And then of course everything starts with our raw yarn. Raw wool. So this is after it's been washed. Wash gently. Basically, you can just kind of rinse and drain. If you scrub it, it'll turn into felt. So we start out with our unprocessed wool. Our first step is to pick it. So we're just going to pick it, go after some of those lumps. The youngest children in the household, this would be their job, to pick the wool. If you found any little cockleburs or twigs and stuff in there, they would get all that out. Then it would be handed over to probably an older child or maybe mom to card. So these are called cards. And you just very lightly comb the wool. You don't want to dig it in like that because you're never going to be able to pull it apart. So just very lightly, I'm just going from one card to the next. And I usually run it through 3 or 4 times till I'm satisfied with it, and it'll look like a nice puffy cloud. The more even and puffy it is, the nicer the wool it will make. So this is my opportunity to get the little fuzzies and clumps and things out. You may not get everything, that's it. So I still can't really spin with that. So the final step is to create a roll lag. So I get a little fluffy noodle thing. So that's what I spin from. Have it going. And away we go.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool to see it from the beginning to the getting to that part.
Yep. It also helps if you've got, 5 or 6 farm kids to help. Those children as young as 3 or 4 would start with the picking, and then your 5 and 6-year-olds would start learning to card, and past that age the girls would go on to learn to spin. Spinning was considered a woman's job, but the picking and carding could be done by anybody.
Yeah, I'm surprised it just stays together.
Yeah.
Like that, yeah.
Under a microscope, wool is actually barbed. So those little barbs grab a hold of each other. They just need that little bit of spin in there. If there's no spin, it'll just pull apart.
Huh.
Once you start putting some spin, it gets harder and harder to pull.
Stays together. Wow. Cool.